All right, chapter 9. So, chapter 9, right triangle trigonometry. So, first of all, they're going to give you an angle called theta. The opposite of the angle theta, we call it the opposite side. We usually abbreviate it to OPPE. And then the side next to it, we call it the adjacent side. Adjacent means next to. So, adjacent side, we usually abbreviate to ADJ. The opposite side of the right angle, we call it the hypotenuse, abbreviating to H by P. Okay, so we only apply this to the right triangles. And then with the right triangles, we can develop into 6 different ratios, which are sine, cosine, and tangent, which you have learned in geometry. Now we're gonna expand it to cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So cosecant, secant, and cotangent are basically the reciprocal of sine, cosine, and tangent. Let's look at the next slide. So here's a very simple trig function on the ratios of sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So understand that you see that this is the opposite over hypotenuse, and then the reciprocal is going to be the hypotenuse over opposite. Okay, so with that being said, you know that sine, cosine, and tangent are the reciprocal of cosecant, secant, and cotangent. They are reciprocal. This is the part you have to memorize it, and then after you memorize it, you'll be able to find out the ratios of all 6 trig functions. All right, we're going to bring back old memory, Pythagorean theorem. So Pythagorean theorem is the 2 legs, A and B, square each one of them, and then add it is going to equal to the square of the hypotenuse. Okay, this is the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. Here are some Pythagorean triples, which means that whenever you see one of the legs is 3, another one is 4, and then your hypotenuse is always going to be 5, because if you use 3 squared plus 4 squared, you will get 25, which is 5 squared. Okay, so the next one is going to be 6, 8, and 10, because that's the multiple of 2 on all 3 sides. And if you look at 9, 12, and 15, that's a multiple of 3 on all 3 sides. The next common triple is going to be 5, 12, and 13. And another one, 8, 15, and 17, 7, 24, and 25. So all these are very commonly used for Pythagorean triples. All right, so the worksheet you guys are going to be getting, I'm going to do a couple of them. So let's look at number 2, cosine theta. So cosine theta. So cosine theta is equal to, we know that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, in this case, the theta is right here. Adjacent side is 3. Hypotenuse is 5. So it's going to be 3 over 5. Let's go to number 4. So you have secant theta. So secant theta is basically the reciprocal of cosine. So if you look at number 2, it was adjacent over hypotenuse. This time it's going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. Okay, so if this is your theta, adjacent side, which is missing, hypotenuse is 15. Okay, hypotenuse is 15. So now you're gonna have to find out what the adjacent side is. What you can do is you can use the Pythagorean theorem. So we can say adjacent squared, adjacent squared plus 4 square root of 11 squared is equal to 15 squared. Okay, adjacent squared is equal to 16 times 11, plus 16 times 11 equals to 15 squared. That's 225. So a squared, if you don't know how I get that, that's 15 times 15. 75 plus 15, that's 225. Okay, all right, so 16 times 11, 16 times 11, it's 16, 16, so 176. So a squared plus 176, so subtract 176 on both sides. A squared equals to 49. So a equals to 7. Okay, so your adjacent side is equal to 7. Now I'm going to erase all the work and I'll just put 7 on the bottom. Go. So it's 15 over 7. Now let's look at the next one. Number 6. So you have now we got sine theta. We know that it's going to be the opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite, here is my theta. Opposite is 8. And you know that 6, 8, and that's one of the triples from 3, 4, 5, but you multiply it by 2, so your hypotenuse is going to be 10. So 6, 8, and 10. Now you're going to use opposite, which is 8. Hypotenuse is 10. So 8 over 10, simplify it to 4 over 5. Let's look at number 8. Cosecant. Okay, so cosecant theta is going to be the reciprocal of sine, which is going to be hypotenuse over opposite. Okay, so this is my theta. Hypotenuse is 12 over opposite is 10. So simplify that, it's going to be 6 over 5. Look at number 10. Now we got cosine theta equals to, so cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. Now we're going to use the Pythagorean triples. So see if this is one of the Pythagorean triples. If you divide it by 4 on both sides, you're going to get 3. And this one is 4. And that's one of the triples, is 3, 4, 5. So knowing that it was 3, 4, 5. And you're just going to multiply by 4 on all 3 sides to get 12, 16. So it's going to be 20 for the hypotenuse. Okay, so adjacent, let's look at which one is adjacent. So this is the theta. Adjacent, apparently it's going to be 16. And then hypotenuse is going to be 20. Okay, so simplify that. That's going to be 4 over 5. Okay, it's a short lesson, and that's it for the chapter 9.1. And just make sure you guys complete the worksheet. It's a brief understanding. I'm cutting off a lot of materials. Doesn't mean that it's not important. It's just that I'm going to focus on what's important to me and then for you guys for the rest of the chapter. Have a good one.